It's so inspiring to see the transformation that people like David are experiencing just from having a bed, food, and clothing, just having your basic needs met. You know, another organization responding to people's immediate needs and helping clients overcome temporary and generational poverty in the city of Toronto is Yonge Street Mission. Joining me now is Angie Peters, President and CEO of Yonge Street Mission and author of the new book, Just Act, We Are the Solution to Poverty. Welcome to 100 Huntley Street, Angie.
Thanks, Lara. It's great to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you with us today. You know, Angie, your book, Just Act, was really inspired by your own personal experiences. Tell us briefly about the history behind this book.
Yeah, so I mean, really quickly, my mom came out of a family of multiple generations of poverty, and because two people invested in her, she was able to heal, and her whole life changed. And because of that, her children, myself, my siblings, her grandchildren, none of us are living in poverty. And so I just really believe that if we see people and invest in them, their lives can change.
Indeed, Angie, and I'm so excited that we actually have you on a different day, and we'll be talking further about your personal story and the inspiration of your mom for this book, Just Act. You know, for those viewers watching right now who are wondering, what is generational poverty? Can you unpack that concept a little bit more for us?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to believe we'll always have the poor among us, right? And but poverty breaks down into different segments. So we'll always have episodic poverty. Somebody gets sick or loses their job, needs retraining, needs some temporary help, get back into work. And we'll always have people in our society that we need to care for, and work is not the answer. Seniors, people with disabilities, we should just be looking after people like that. That's our responsibility. But generational poverty is the kind of poverty my mom's family had, where there's just generation after generation of people who end up stuck because of the brokenness that comes out of generations of poverty and the trauma associated with those experiences. And these individuals have the same needs as you and I, the same hopes and dreams, but they've been squashed by life experience. And so people move naturally into survival mode and they get stuck.
So insightful, Angie, and so real for so many Canadians watching right now. You know, we often try to meet the needs of those who are struggling with housing or food and their immediate needs, and that's important, but there are deeper needs that we can meet that would actually continue to shift long-term somebody's situation. Tell me about those deeper needs.
Yeah, so like if you even just think about, most of us are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs from when we were in school. And those first two, like the physiological needs, the safety needs, those are like relief. When you think about relief and development, those are like relief. And relief is important. If someone's hungry, we need to feed them. If someone needs a place to live, we need to house them. And those are the challenges in today's society. But development is the next step. And that's where the belonging and the esteem and the connection to higher purpose come in. And that's where people thrive. And it starts with them kind of believing that they belong. They have healthy relationships that encourage and esteem them and support them. And then they can get connected to their values and their spirituality and their higher purpose and start to pursue something that is meaningful, deeply meaningful for them to engage in life. That's thriving.
That is thriving. And Angie, I've heard you say before that sometimes if you don't believe in yourself, you just need to find someone who can believe in you. And in your book, Just Act, you have the Just Act cycle, which speaks a lot to the power of how we believe in others and the difference we can make. Tell us a bit more about that cycle, the Just Act cycle.
Yeah. So the cycle's in the book, and it's just a simple process to help. If you want to help somebody move out of poverty and you don't know how, this is the challenge. I think a lot of people want to help and they don't know how.
Yeah.
It just takes you through a simple, reflective series of steps to help you develop a plan, a real plan, to do it. Yeah. And some of the key things to highlight are, one is the learning step, because I think most people don't understand what poverty is like and may not have any exposure to it, so they don't know what would help. That's perfectly reasonable. And so the learning step really guides a person through how they could learn and understand what poverty really looks like today and what would really help somebody. And then the next step is taking inventory. And we don't tend to think of ourselves as having an inventory. But when we think about helping people, we think, okay, well, I'll donate or I'll volunteer at a food bank. But there's so much more that we can do, right? We have abilities and expertise that we could use to support somebody, maybe tutor in a computer lab after school with kids, or help somebody get their language proficiency up in English so they can get a job, or just so many examples.
Yeah.
So abilities, influence, churches can start programs that meet needs in their neighborhood, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then time and money, yes, that's part of it too. But the learning and the inventory part really lead to a plan that is actually addressing a need that is the highest priority need of the person you're trying to help, which will lead to the outcome that we're looking for.
It's so inspiring, Angie, and I know that it is possible. We can effect such change in the lives of those around us. One of the very important pieces of what you believe is that we can stop generational poverty in one generation. Tell us more about that and what your call to Canadians would be today.
Yeah. So, I know this is national, but I have a Toronto example, but we tend to think poverty is overwhelming because we hear these big stats. But the numbers of people in generational poverty in the city of Toronto is roughly estimated around 350,000 people. There's 2.5 million people in Toronto. We only need about 15 to 20% of us who aren't poor to decide to help one person. One person ends it for every generation after them. Ephesians 3:20 says, God will do much more than we can ask or imagine. And so we're just praying that everybody will decide to help one person, and it doesn't even take all of us, and we would be there.
Angie, so inspiring and so true. I'm so excited about your new book, Just Act. We are the solution to poverty. I'm thrilled for our viewers to get a copy of that book, and thrilled for the information you've shared with us today and the difference it will have on the lives of Canadians. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.